How are you this morning, Coach?
I'm doing good. Got a nice win on Saturday, so I'm doing good.
Great. Sure, you're a little bit happier this week.
Yes, very happy.
Well, as you mentioned, last week the Bears picked up their first conference win of the season. Can you talk about the win over Howard?
Well, it was a hard-fought game. It came down to the wire. Chris Moore kicked the field goal. Last few seconds of the game to win it. Then Howard came down, and we got 2 sacks in that last drive to seal the victory. But it was a hard-fought game. We knew we had to stop their quarterback, and you can't really stop him. So we just kind of limited what he was doing and try to harass him as much as we could. And he's a great player, and he gave us fits. But we were able to score some points on offense to match him. What he was doing offensively. So and we came out with the victory.
Well, you are new to the conference as the new head coach of Morgan State and have only had one taste of conference competition, particularly last week. After this game, do you get any indication of how tough the conference journey to the title will be?
Yes, I knew going in that this was going to be a tough conference. It's evenly matched. You got a lot of great teams. They always get up for conference games. They're well coached. The players play hard. So I knew that going into this that it wouldn't be easy to try to win the conference and get a conference championship. And that just showed on Saturday. Howard played a great game and they fought to the end.
Looking ahead, you face another tough conference matchup as you face Norfolk State. What are your thoughts regarding this game?
Well, this is going to be a tough matchup for us. We've lost 7 in a row to Norfolk and lost the last 14 out of 17. So we know what we're getting ourselves into going down there. Their defense is great. Coach Adrian does a great job with those guys on defense. They fly around, they hit. So offensively we got our got a lot to look forward to, and we got to play well offensively to match them defensively. And so I look for a very hard-fought game going down to the wire again.
Thanks, Coach Hull. That concludes all of my questions this morning, but if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, please press 1-4 to register questions by telephone. You'll hear a 3-tone prompt to acknowledge your request. Again, please press 1-4 to register questions. And we have a question from Ty Miller from SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Coach Hull, good morning to you.
Good morning.
There's a strange dynamic, well, not strange dynamic in this game against Norfolk State, being that former coach Don Hill-Ely is now their offensive coordinator. What, if anything, of a challenge it presents that he knows the personnel that he'll be going against on the defense of your team?
I don't think it presents a challenge. We just have to do our job, stay focused, trust one another. On defense. It's for us. Is this another game? We're going down there to beat Norfolk, and we're not going down there to beat Don Hill.
In terms of your Bears, they seem to have bought into your philosophy and to your process. What kind of feeling do you have in the locker room among your players and how they feel about the direction in which you have the program going?
I think they love the way we're going right now. I've talked to them a lot about it is a process, and we can't cheat the process. And what I mean by that is the things that we have been doing since I got here 8 months ago, we got to continue doing. When you get a little success, you want to try to do things your way. So I'm on them every day about not cheating the process. It's a process. We're still nowhere near where we want to be, but we're going in the right direction. And I feel that they have bought into that, and with us, having some success, makes it a little bit easier for all those guys to buy in.
Coach, you mentioned that Norfolk has a pretty good defense. I think we're well aware of that. focus on the key, I guess, the skill set players. Look at your line. What can you tell me about your offensive and defensive lines that will be key to this game?
Well, I've said it all the time. I think we have the best offensive line in the conference. We have 3 seniors playing right now, and we have a sophomore who started last year, and we have a true freshman starting on the offensive line, and they've gelled. They've gelled because four out of the 5 have started last year, so they got a good rapport. They know what each other is doing. They know the calls. And Matt Thompson, our freshman starting right tackle, has done a great job. Those 4 guys have embraced him, and I think that's what the continuity of those guys is what our success has been on offense because of that. Our defensive line is coming along. Chris Robinson, we're doing a lot of different things with him as far as that's on the defensive line, in the 3-point stance or standing up. I think he's leading the conference in sacks. So he's just relentless, and he doesn't stop. His motor doesn't stop. And Andrew Mitchell, I feel is having a very good year for us also. So they're coming along and getting better every week.
Hey, Coach, Norfolk State does have an outstanding player on defense. Have a number of outstanding players, but one guy that sticks out is their linebacker, Lyndon Trell. Give us your thoughts on him.
He's a great player. He's athletic. He runs around. He's very tough. He'll hit you. He's someone that we gotta find out where he is on every snap.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
And our next question is from the line of Edward Lee from the Baltimore Sun. Please proceed.
Morning, Lee.
Good morning.
Hey, I was just wondering if you could just talk about, what's the mood like in the locker room? I mean, you guys gotten off to a good start. Is there a lot of confidence based on what you guys have done recently?
There is a lot of confidence, and one thing that I've tried to do is play a lot of guys and give a lot of the players roles. Even if it's 5-10 plays a game, and they all feel part of this, and they all feel part of the movement where we're going. So there's a lot of confidence, but with that, I try to keep them at keep a level head, at even keel, because it's a long season. We still got 8 games to go, but you can see with each day, each practice, each game, them gaining more and more confidence.
Did you anticipate you would be having this kind of success on offense?
Say that again?
Did you anticipate that you'd be having this kind of success on offense through the first 4 games?
I didn't know what to expect. It was a new system. The guys have bought into it, so I didn't know what to expect. Come Eastern Michigan game, and I was like, wow. But the guys on offense have bought into the system, and they love the system because there's a lot of guys getting touches. Look at our receiving core. I think Thomas Martin might be our leader with like 9 catches. And then you have Lamont and Herb and now OJ, running back. There's a lot of guys that are involved, and I think that's more of what our success comes from, is that they all feel involved and that they're a part of it.
You mentioned Norfolk State. Their offense has scored in the first 4 games just 27 points. They've gotten 52 first downs. They're averaging a little bit more than 200 yards per game. Is that a favorable matchup for your defense?
I think so, but I know they're going to come out and they're going to have some new wrinkles. They're going to be fired up. I know Coach Hill's going to have those guys fired up. Coach Hill has played against Coach Morgan before. Was at Central, so I expect there to be some new wrinkles and some things. But it's a good matchup for both sides.
Lee, I was wondering, your red zone offense, you guys have scored 9 touchdowns in 11 trips. What's been the key to success for that red zone offense?
Not making mistakes when we get down there. That's why I've talked to these guys every day about on offense is when we get into the red zone, we have to score touchdowns. Field goals are great, but, we want points, we want touchdowns, and when we get down there, you have to focus even more. A lot of times it's a longer drive, you're tired, so you have to focus. We can't have mistakes and penalties, going down there. But they've bought in. They really bought into our philosophy on offense, and I think that's the biggest aspect of the whole thing, why we're having success, is because they've bought into what we're doing, and when we get down there, they have some confidence. Hey, we had a 10, 14 play drive. We can score here, and we're not going to make a mistake or jump off sides or anything like that. We're going to go and score.
My last question is, in the game, the win against Howard, you guys had 10 penalties for 104 yards. How concerned are you about that?
I'm real concerned, because that shows a lack of focus, a lack of discipline, and we want to be a very disciplined football team, and that was a lot of penalties, and we haven't done that in the last the three previous games, I would say. So we addressed it, and we will address it all week long. About we got to stay focused and be more disciplined with the penalties.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah, thank you.
Our next question is from the line of Luke Williams from the Black College Sports page. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach Hall, I have dubbed you Mr. Cool, but did I see you get excited when that field goal went through?
Yeah, you saw me get excited. I got a couple of phone calls and said, I haven't seen you get that excited in a long time. It was a great feeling. It was my first MEAC win against our rivals, and I wanted more for the players, because they have worked hard for 8 months, and for them to win in that kind of dramatic ending, especially with the way we lost the first 2 games, it showed all their hard work had paid off.
So that was a jump as well as a chest bump that I saw you execute?
Yeah, it was.
All right, the other thing I wanted to ask you on a more serious note is I've noticed that you've made reference quite a bit to Morgan State's history, football history, 18 CIAA championships. Tell me, did you grow up knowing about Morgan State, about black college football generally, and how much have you used that maybe to motivate your kids for Morgan State to get back into the elite schools in the conference?
Well, I'm from South Jersey, so I'm just basically less than 2 hours away from Morgan State. But I did grow up watching Morgan State and Grambling and Southern and all the schools. When I was growing up, they were always on TV, so I kind of know the history, of HBCU, and it's a tradition, with great tradition. So, and I do use it a lot with our guys. One thing that I try to do is get some of our prominent alums who played football here, who in the 70s and 60s and early 80s that had success. I want them around my football team, because I want our football players to see what success and what greatness is, and strive to be there at one point in their lives and in their careers. So it's very important to know your history of your sport and of your team.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Thanks.
There are no further questions at this time.
Thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Hull. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Morgan State will travel to Norfolk, Virginia to take on Norfolk State. That game kicks off Saturday, September 27th at 4 p.m. and will be played in the William Dick Price Stadium. Next up, we have Florida A&M head coach Earl Holmes. Good morning, Coach Holmes.
Good morning, Patricia. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Coach. And yourself?
I'm doing well.
Coach, last week, tough matchup for the Rattlers. Can you talk about your team's performance against Coastal Carolina?
Well, I was disappointed in the turnovers. I was very disappointed in the way we played on Saturday. I thought we did everything to give Coastal Carolina the game.
Well, as you were talking, Coach, this has been a really tough non-conference stretch for the Rattlers to start this. As you mentioned, how is the team morale, and is there any pressure to get that win?
Well, it's always pressure to get that win because it changes the momentum of your season, but you take it one game at a time. But most importantly, I thought we played well enough to win the first game. It came down to a Hail Mary. And the second game, the guys fought hard in Miami. But this one here, I just thought we took a step back. So we just got to make sure we stay focused and do the sound things.
Well, looking ahead, you face another non-conference battle brewing as you take on Tennessee State. Can you talk about the matchup?
Two universities with a lot of tradition, with a lot of history. It's been going back and forth between us, so it's their homecoming, so I know they're going to be up for it, and we just got to find a way to feed off their crowd.
Well, thanks, Coach Holmes. That concludes all of my questions this morning, but if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, please press 1-4 to register questions. Again, press 1-4 to register questions. And we have a question from the line of Ty Miller, SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach Holmes. Good morning to you.
How you doing, Ty?
I'm doing pretty good. So how do we get back to what happened in the first game? Because if not for the Hail Mary, FAMU comes out on top. So how do you get back to what happened in the first game? I know you stepped outside against Miami. On paper, it was a mismatch, but Coastal Carolina, I don't think you saw that coming, and a lot of us didn't see it coming. So how do you get back to what was working in that first game, although you were not victorious?
It starts with practice. Start with the fundamentals, and what I mean by that is you can't turn the ball over. You got to make sure that you win the turnover margin. So you can't turn the ball over as well as you got to create turnovers on defense. And I went at the line of scrimmage. I just thought again, when you're playing good teams, you got to find a way to keep your offense on the field and your defense off the field.
If there's a silver lining, is that you have yet to embark upon MEAC play. So is that something that you've discussed with the team going forward?
Most definitely. You play these 4 games to see where you're at, what's the team heartbeat, and what type of team that you have. Because once it's conference play, that's when everything counts. So if you want to control your own destiny, you want to make sure the mistakes that we're making now early in a non-conference game, you get those things corrected. So once you kick this thing off in conference play, everything counts.
Tennessee State's been kind of up and down so far. Coach Reed lost a lot of players at graduation. So what's your assessment of the Tigers at this point?
They're a good football team. You watch them, they're number one in their division when it comes to defense in pretty much every category. So they're very stout up front. They're very disciplined on defense. You just got to find a way to get out to the quarterback and try to force their hand a little bit. But, again, they're a solid football team, and they're capable.
This past week they started Ronald Butler and played some Michael German, who you saw last year. So what are your thoughts on Butler?
Well, you got to prepare for both quarterbacks. Butler's a kid I watch. He's a local kid out of Tallahassee, Lincoln High School. So, I've been watching him a lot. And, again, they're just trying to find a way to get their offense moving. They didn't score last week, but at the same time they did move the chains a little bit. So we're going to prepare for both quarterbacks. I think Coach is trying to find a spark on the offense, so we just got to prepare for both quarterbacks.
Coach, thanks a lot and good luck this weekend.
Thanks a lot, Ty.
There are no further questions at this time.
Thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Holmes. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Okay, take care.
You too. Florida A&M will travel to Nashville, Tennessee to take on Tennessee State. That game kicks off Saturday, September 27th at 6 p.m. and will be played at the LP Field. Next up we have Bethune-Cookman head coach Brian Jenkins. Good morning, Coach Jenkins.
Good morning, Ms. Porter.
How are you this morning?
I'm making the best of it.
Not a problem. Well, Coach, last week, not the finish you would have liked. Can you talk a little bit about the matchup against Central Florida?
Yes, but before I do that, let me issue a form of apology to you, to Dr. Thomas, the conference, to all the sport reporters and analysts and everything for not being on the call last week. Had a very serious personal matter, and Ms. Porter, me and you have talked at length, so you know what I'm dealing with, and that kind of pulled me away and abruptly and kind of took up my whole day. So, but I still want to apologize for not being on the call, and I want to make sure I got that out of the way so that could be dealt with. I talked to Dr. Thomas, and he addressed me pretty sternly about the matter, and I explained everything to him. He was understanding, but I definitely want to apologize to you and everyone else for that. The matchup against Central Florida was a tough one. We played a good football team. You know, they were very terrific up front on both sides of the ball, and I mean they did exactly what a good football team does when the opponent is not capitalizing on things, and they just overpowered us in the end, and you know, the score showed that they beat us pretty well. There's no excuse, and like I said, we took our whooping, and we learned a lot from the game. So we came back home and had to check ourselves on some things and get them corrected, and got to get ready to line up for the next one.
Well, Coach, losing is never fun, but for a team that has seen success so often, it can be a little bit more difficult to take in. Despite playing FBS competition last week, how is the team's morale heading into this game, and how quickly do you rebound heading into that next matchup?
Well, our morale is pretty good. I mean, we deal with everything at that moment, and once that moment is over with, you know, we strongly believe it prepares us for the next moment, and we move on. And therefore, that's what we've done. So Central Florida's behind us, and we're totally focusing on Florida Tech, who's another good team, who's playing a good brand of football. And I tell people a lot of times, you know, don't look at the level, you know, the rank of Division I, Division II. You got to look at the productivity of the team. And this team has had a lot of success in a short period of time of its existence, and we got our hands. You know, they're going to be full, you know, come Saturday. But the number one thing is for us as a football team and as an organization to make sure that we're covering everything that we need to cover. We correct all the things in the areas that we need to correct, and that way we can put ourselves in a position to be productive.
Well, Coach, that concludes all of my questions for this morning. I do thank you for your apology and your kind words. At this point, we will now open up the call for any additional questions from the media.
Please press 1-4 to register questions. Again, please press 1-4 to register questions by telephone. And our first question is from the line of Brent Warnoff from the Journal. Please proceed.
Hi, Coach.
Hey, Brent, what's up?
Did you have a conversation with the officials before the game about the color of your uniforms, or was that just a surprise when you got hit with that first?
It was really a surprise. I mean, when we got hit with it, because when I talked to the officials before the game, it was no problems, no issues. And then all of a sudden, right before we're getting ready to take the field, they come and tell us that they have to hit us with a 15-yard penalty. And they explained why. So I said, okay, that's fine. Protocol is protocol. And then we come out the second half, and they hit us again with another 15-yard penalty. So we were down minus 30 yards before we even had a chance to line up and play a snap. But, you know, they enforced a rule that they felt they needed to enforce and had no merit on anything. But I guess they felt like it was important enough to enforce it. So, you know, I was okay with it.
What are you going to do about the gray uniforms now going in the future? I know you've worn them in the past and everything's been okay.
Well, I mean, we have our white uniforms that have been ordered. It's just on back order right now. We're waiting for them to be delivered, and that's why we are wearing our gray uniforms until they arrive. So hopefully our white uniforms will be here in time that we have to play our next away game. So, but if not, then you know we got to wear what we got and still play the game. So that's not a major matter of concern for me right now.
You guys have won in the past while leading the conference or being among the conference leaders in penalties. Mm-hmm. After Saturday, are they more of a concern now than ever?
Absolutely, they are. They are a concern. You know, some of the penalties, you know, are right. You know, they are right. But some of the penalties are questionable, I will say. I mean, on the first snap of the game on a kickoff return, we got a double team on on one of our opponents, and we put the opponent on his back. He gets up, and we put him on his back again. Nothing malicious or nothing, that's out of the aggressive brand of football, and we get flagged for it. And I've looked at that play several times. I've asked several refs who are here in the area to come and review several of the calls, and they agree that some are questionable. But like I say, there are a lot of them that are right. They're the right calls. But just the questionable ones, make you think, what, our aggressive style of play is that hurting us, it just discourages a little bit when you get certain penalties. Now the offsides and legal procedure, things like that, you can't fight. And we had a couple of those. We had a block in the back penalty, which was the right call. It was absolutely the right call. We had a couple holding penalties that, in my mind, and some, are questionable, but were questionable. But nevertheless, I just got to diligently continue to preach and continue to work on those things to the point where it may have to become overbearing, and hopefully we can get that part of our program fixed or get that area, reduced a little bit.
Oh, and what was the feeling after the game about not talking to the media?
No, I tell you what, Brent, I apologize on that. I totally forgot. In the midst of everything going on with not what I feel not playing well, and some of the things that took place, I was very disgusted with myself, my coaching staff, and just the program as a whole, with the penalties and everything, that I totally forgot to talk to the media. And finally, when it came to me, hey, I didn't do my interview, everybody was gone. So I talked to Brian Harvey, and he understood, and I told him when I'm like that, just come grab me, just pull me out, and then go from there. But I did. I totally forgot. It was nothing of trying to avoid the media or anything, and whatever questions you or anybody have, I'll definitely answer them and then go from there.
Just one last thing. You guys gave up a lot of big plays in that game. Is that now a concern also?
Well, it is a concern because we gave up some plays off of missed tackles. That's the thing. We gave up about 3, maybe 4 touchdowns just completely off poor tackling. And then we've been a pretty good tackling football team. And, to give up plays like that and off of missed tackles at this point in the season is very upsetting, especially when you're working on that phase of the game, every day. So, and then a couple other big plays we gave up because we were out of position. And we had a cover 3 call one time, and the safety didn't roll down, and they threw a bubble screen, and bam, the guy took it to the house. That's out of position. And against good ball clubs like UCF or any good ball club, you cannot make mistakes like that. You can't tackle poorly, and you can't be out of position, because if you do, then the things that happened to us Saturday is going to happen. You're going to give up big plays, which is going to lead to a lot of points, and that's exactly what happened.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, Brent.
Ladies and gentlemen, press 1-4 to register questions. Our next question is from the line of Ty Miller, SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Coach Jenkins, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ty. How you doing?
I'm good, Coach. Hope you are too. Florida Tech beat a ranked team for the first time in 2 years when they beat Tarleton State this past weekend, 37-31. What are your thoughts on the Panthers? I know they're Division II, but the Gulf South Conference is a pretty tough conference with Delta State, people like Valdosta State. So, what are your thoughts on the Gulf South Conference?
They're a good football team. You look on film, and they did exactly what you said. They beat Tarleton State, and it was a good football game. And the thing that's impressive is Florida Tech was down, but they continued to fight back and respond. And whenever you got a team that will respond with confidence, then you got a resilient football team. So we don't have a sleeper or a team that's going to lay down coming in here. We're coming off a loss. They're coming off a tremendous victory. So they're their confidence is at an all-time high, and it should be. So, I think they're a good football team. They're very well coached. They have some weapons. The quarterback they have is a guy that we had on our board at one time when we were recruiting, and they got a couple transfers in that have really made some plays. And I tell you what, I'm just impressed with how active their linebackers are. You got I can't call the young man's name, but a couple linebackers are undersized, but I tell you what, they make up for it in their aggressive style of play and the way they just run around and make things happen. So they're a good football team, and they've scored, a lot of points, so we got to find a way to slow them down. But just like every other football team, we're going to prepare for them at a high level and get ready to play a hard-fought football game.
Coach, you mentioned Mark Cato, the quarterback. What about him had him on your radar when he was coming out of high school?
Well, he was a guy that could throw the ball really well, and he was smart. He's a very smart quarterback. And for any team to be successful, you got to have a very smart quarterback as well as a quarterback that shows great leadership and a quarterback that has some athletic ability. And he expressed, showed us all those characteristics, and that's what had him on our board. So, when I watch him on film, I'm not surprised at the type of player that he is. And once I got a chance to really watch him on film, I know why they're having the success they're having, on offense, because you got a trigger puller like that leading your team.
Coach, how much does the out-of-conference schedule get you prepared for the MEAC schedule? That's one thing that sticks out. You got these non-conference games, and then you're going to head to the MEAC. So I know you can't look ahead, but, will this be a real big help to you as you move forward?
The game against Florida Tech, you're asking? Or the game
just
against
overall period. Your non-conference schedule.
No. I think our non-conference schedule will help us because it's a brand of football that we're going to face in the league. We had a hard-fought football game against FIU, which went down to the wire, and just so happened God had more favor for us than them that day, and we came out victorious. And then we lined up against Grambling, who I thought was a pretty good football team, whose record did not show what they were capable of doing on the football field, and they fought us all the way down to the fourth quarter, and we were able to come out victorious there. And then we played this powerful juggernaut in Central Florida, who did some things that we had not experienced before since I've been here, but it was good to face them. And now we're having a team that we can't overlook. We got to prepare for it at a high level and get ready to play this Saturday. So I say all those things to say, we've had to prepare week in and week out for good football teams, and that's the same thing we're going to have to do once we get into conference play. We're going to have to prepare week in and week out for good football teams, well-coached teams that are disciplined, teams that have good offense and defensive schemes, teams that have good skill, and teams that execute well. So I definitely think our non-conference schedule has helped tremendously, prepare us for the battles that we're getting ready to get into by getting into conference play.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
There are no further questions.
Thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Jenkins. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Thank you, Ms. Porter.
Have a great one. Bethune-Cookman will host Florida Tech on Saturday, September 27th. That game kicks off at 4 p.m. Will be played at Municipal Stadium in Daytona Beach, Florida. Next up we have Delaware State head coach Kermit Blount. Good morning, Coach Blount.
Hey, good morning, Patricia.
How are you this morning?
Licking my wound, but I'm doing good.
Not a problem. Well, last week, Coach, it was a very competitive matchup for the Hornets. Can you share your thoughts with regards to that game against Temple?
Well, when you step out and you play FBSs, you have to be ready to play. And they got off to a quick start against us and kind of broke us down a little bit. But the one thing throughout that game, the score don't really indicate how hard our guys played. And, certainly they were able to come up with some big plays, 2 big plays on special teams. And I think we gave up 28 points in turnovers. So that was the biggest key to the football game, and that's unlike my football team. We don't normally make those kind of mistakes, but we made them on Saturday, and you can't make mistakes playing against a good football team.
Well, Coach, up to this point, you have seen some very competitive non-conference competition. How eager are your players and the staff to entering conference play this week?
Well, I'll tell you, Patricia, playing who we play is going to help us prepare, but at the same time, the schedule don't get any easier. Savannah State's been playing the same kind of teams we've been playing, and most of the schools in our MEAC, go outside and play great competition. So each week, we have to prepare. This is going to be another tough ball game. We got it at home, and the opportunity for us to go out and get a big win at home is something we're looking forward to, and it's going to be a very competitive game. Those coaches are having ready to play when they come in on Saturday.
Well, as you mentioned, this week you will be facing Savannah State. Can you talk about the overall matchup and your outlook for the game?
It's like every team in the MEAC. Certainly it's something that we're going to have to prepare for this week and play at a higher level than Savannah State. And, hopefully that the home field will give us the advantage. But it's going to be a competitive game. They do an excellent job in coaching that team there, and I have a lot of respect for what they do. And, certainly it's not an easy task. They have some skilled kids who are really, really good, and they have some kids on defense that really get to the football. So we're going to have to play at a very high level to come away with a win.
Well, thanks, Coach Blount. That concludes all of my questions this morning, but if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
No problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, press 1-4 to register questions. And our first question is from the line of Ronald Shield from Tigers Roar. Please proceed.
How you doing, Coach?
Hey, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm all right. Talking about your matchup this week with Savannah State, what are some of the things you expect to see from them in this matchup, and what do you think your team has to do to pick up this win this season?
Well, offensively, we're going to have to control the football a little bit to try to keep them off the field. They are even front team that bring a lot of pressure. They like to play man coverage, and, certainly that presents a problem because, they can bring pressure behind that or with that. And we're going to have to protect the football and make them turn it over and not turn it over ourselves. And then the special team play is going to be essentially important, that we play very well in our special teams and not give up any big plays.
All right. Savannah State, they've got three quarterbacks that like to escape the pocket and make plays with their legs. How do you keep them from threatening the line of scrimmage and breaking down your man coverage and hitting you guys with the big play?
Basically, what we have to do on our defense, with our defense, is just keep contained. Try to keep those guys corralled within the pocket. And then if they happen to get out of the pocket, our linebackers and our safeties is going to have to make a play. And it's something that it's tough to do, but it's something that we have to do if we want to get a win and contain those quarterbacks.
All right, last question. You guys won last year by 2 points. Is there anything that you take from that matchup last season to help you prepare with this matchup on Saturday?
Not really. 2013 was a year away. It's a year behind us, and this is a totally different football game. We're both in similar situations and trying to create our stance within the MEAC, and it's going to be a hard-fought football game. One thing I can say, those young men play tremendously hard, and they're going to play for 4 quarters, and that's why it's important that we match and outmatch their intensity.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Our next question is from the line of Ty Miller, SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Coach Blount, how are you this morning?
Ty, how you doing this morning, Ty?
I'm good, man.
Good, man.
My question to you is, are you most concerned about the lack of scoring? Because 5 touchdowns on the season, only 37 points. Is it something going on with your offense due to the lack of scoring, or has it been the opposition?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. We played some really tough opposition away from our conference, and at the same time, we've had some injuries that we had to kind of deviate a little bit of what we're doing. But at the same time, I think it's a combination of both, and I look for our offense to finally to really come around, and I think we will. It's just a matter of time.
Last time out, Fort Valley State beat Savannah State, and I know you don't underestimate opponents. So what do you say to a young man who may have some confidence that, and I'm sure football teams don't do this, but we as media personnel always think about the fact that, okay, this team was Division II, they lost to that team. Now you're playing on an even keel, playing at your own division. What do you say to your players who say don't even underestimate them, not only because of last year, but because of what they did here?
When we look at our record, we're 0-4. We can't underestimate anybody. If we had a Pop Warner team coming in, we'll have to get ready to play them. But certainly, that's the last thing that our young men are going to think about. They know that they have to play and compete. We had a tough ball game at Savannah State last year, and it's not going to be any different this year. And from week to week, you can't look at what a team does the week before because it means absolutely nothing at all. It all matters on what you do that Saturday when you compete against each other. And I know they'll be ready to play. We just have to outlast and be ready to go as well.
Knowing that the season's a marathon and that you're 4 games in and now that the conference schedule starts for you, what have you seen that gives you a lot of reason for optimism going into the MEAC schedule?
Well, I think we played some really, really good football teams. And out of the 4 that we played, we had the opportunity to win 2 of them if we just, make 1 or 2 plays here or not make a mistake there. And I think our guys learned from every experience that we've had to this point. And, and it's going to be another learning experience this weekend. There are certain things you have to learn on the run. There are certain things or adjustments you have to make, during the course of a ball game. And it just depends upon how well your kids make the adjustment. But I think our guys have learned, and I feel real good about this group of young men that I have because each week they come back and work harder each Monday as we come out of the ball game. So I'm just looking for our guys to really come out and play with a lot of intensity this weekend.
Final question, Coach. Of the 4 games, which one would you say has been the best one your team has played thus far?
Probably, I would say when I look at the Towson State game, we outpossessed them 2-1, and when I look at the University of Delaware game, we had an opportunity to be in that one, and we outpossessed them as well. The thing that we did in those 2 ball games is we made mistakes that we can't afford to make. But certainly, I feel good about what we're doing and where we're headed.
Okay, thank you, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Ty. Appreciate it, man.
There are no further questions.
Thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Blount. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Thanks, Patricia. Have a great week, okay?
You too. Delaware State will host Savannah State on Saturday, September 27th. That game kicks off at 6 p.m. and will be played at Alumni Stadium in Dover, Delaware. Next up, we have Howard University head coach Gary Harrell. Good morning, Coach Harrell.
Good morning, Patricia. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Coach. And yourself?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. Well, Coach, last week it was a very strong showing for the Bison, but unfortunately you didn't get the victory. Can you talk a little bit about the last week's matchup against Morgan State?
Yeah, it was a great game. I think both teams came out and represented well for the MEAC conference on ESPNU for the 42nd annual Urban League Classic, which goes a long way. A lot of great traditions and history involved in that classic. You're talking about Earl from Morgan State and Eddie Robinson. So Coach Hall and I had a chance to be a part of something that's continuing to build and get stronger and stronger. But they came out and they did what they had to do and get on top early. But my guys showed some resiliency and fought back to tie the ball game up and give us a chance to win. And we just came up short. Time ran out. They ended up with more points. But my hat off to Morgan State. Coach Hall and his staff did a fantastic job. Tough team. They have a great quarterback that makes plays and great running game. They're big up front. running backs very fast and, very, very elusive. But they do a great job, especially on defense also, as far as, making some plays, creating a turnover after halftime, which kind of changed the momentum. But it was a great game, and we enjoyed it. But, we got to come out with the win. And bottom line, that's it. We got to win the ball game.
Well, Coach, speaking a little bit about defense, Howard's pass defense has struggled throughout the start of the season. Is there any cause for concern, and how do you get improvements or what adjustments can be made to strengthen that particular area of the game?
Oh, yeah, very concerned about that area. It's been there on my mind for the entire season, and we got to get better. We know it. We're very young at that position. There's nowhere hiding it. I know folks, and they watch film, and they look at the roster and they see what we have, and that's what we have. We have a lot of injuries at this point. And on this level, when you have injuries, you got to move guys around. Sometimes you have weakness in certain areas. And so we're trying to plug those holes as we go along. But, the guys, mentally they're strong and they're fighting through it. And the guys that, that's in the game now, most of the guys that we really not expected to play. But they're playing, they're very coachable. They might make a bad play, but they'll come back and make a good one. So, I'm proud of them as far as fighting through the situation that we're in. At the beginning, on paper, we had a pretty good football team. We had some injuries, and we're down to the point where we're down to the bare minimum. But, we're going to continue to fight strong. This is Howard University. We just don't believe in making excuses. We put the best guys on the football field, and we go forward. But I think it's more onus is on the coaches. We got to make sure we put our guys in a situation where wherever they're weak, if we see deficiencies, we got to make sure that we give them their best opportunity to succeed. And that scheme, that coverage, up front, we got to do a better job as far as putting pressure on the quarterback. So it's a lot of things that goes into it when you're trying to defend the pass. It's not just the back end, but you got to do some stunt games. You got to do something to make the quarterback either hold the ball or get rid of the football when they really don't want to. So I put a lot of that focus on myself and the coaches to fix the problem.
We'll continue to talk of a strong fight. This week is another gridiron competitive showdown as you take on North Carolina A&T. Share your thoughts regarding the upcoming matchup.
No doubt about it. Another exciting game, for us as far as the matchups. A&T coming in town is always huge for the campus. The student population, alumni, they love when this type team come in town. Coach Broadway and his staff, they got the Aggies playing very well. Very, very explosive, making big plays. Quarterback quick is doing a great job, and of course the running back is outstanding. But they do a good job on defense as far as creating turnovers. Special teams is outstanding. So it's going to be another tough matchup. Very, very tough matchup, but we look forward to it. And we just want to go out and make sure that the understanding we're playing at home. It's the Hall of Fame game. We have two teams going into the Hall of Fame, the 87 team that Willie Jeffers coached, 93 team that Steve Wilson coached. My offensive coordinator, Ted White's going into the Hall of Fame. So, and like I told my guys, this is home, and we do our best as far as defending home, and that's our goal. Is not to lose ball games, of course, but at home we want to make sure we defend home.
Well, thanks, Coach Harrell. That concludes all of my questions this morning, but if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder to register questions, please press the 1 followed by the 4. And our first question is from the line of Ty Miller, SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Coach Harrell, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ty. How you doing?
I'm good. Coach, Greg McGee, how are you going to better protect him? Because in the games, at times, he seems to take a beating there.
Well, I think most of the time he's getting a beating when he's leaving the pocket. And, we try to coach him up throughout the game, after the game, as far as being smart. Greg McGee is a tough competitor. He just believes in just trying to win the ball game if he have to on his own. And we try to get him to understand to be patient and step out of bounds, get down when you have to. But he's going to push the limit. He's going to try to get that extra yard and step out of bounds at the last minute. So I think most of the issue is the pounding that he's taking, just trying to make plays. Like I said, we had some issues up front. As far as O-line wise, as far as injuries, so we're fixing that problem. So when you got those things in place, things happen with a couple of sacks here and there. But I don't think the pocket presence is the issue. It's more when he's on the move, on the run. He's trying to extend the play. He's trying to make a play for the team. So we just got to continue to let him know that, he's very valuable to what we're trying to get done. And he just has to protect himself and make better decisions in those situations.
Coach, already went down to the loss column in the conference. How key is this game as you face probably right now what could be considered the conference's strongest team?
Yeah, I mean, in this conference, when you look back in the past 2 or 3 years, you got some good teams, some teams that can go undefeated, and it's been done in the past 2 or 3 years. So you lose one game, you're struggling as far as being MEAC champs. You lose 2 games, no matter who the opponent is. You lose 2 games, then your ratio goes very low. But we're trying to make sure that we stay in the race, and so this win is no doubt important. We want to make sure that we stay focused. Like I said, things that we want to take care of. One, just come out on a great show and play Howard University football. Defend home and let the game play out. I think if we play our type game that we're capable of playing, I think we'll be fine. I still feel good about this football team. I think that we still have an opportunity to make a run for the MEAC championship. And we're going to continue that today when we hit the practice field. Our goal is still the same. This team is still tough. They're still mentally strong. They still believe. And the morale is still high.
What is the biggest difference between this year's North Carolina A&T team as opposed to the ones you've seen the past 3 years?
Pretty much, you got to look at a program that, hit some harsh penalties and lost some practice times and probably, scholarships and a lot of things they was faced with. So now they're at the point where they're at full strength, or almost at full strength, and it's showing. They're still on film wise. Because Broadway is a guy. He's very, very good football IQ. He understands what his strengths are. He's gonna do what he believes in on the offensive side and the defense ball. So they're always very sound. They're always consistent with what they do. Not very exotic. They just believe in making plays, time management, protecting the football, creating turnovers. I mean, that's just his brand of football. But, they have guys. A lot of these guys are coming back, and you see the great job they've done in recruiting. They're very explosive, they have speed at numerous positions. But that's the difference between now and 2 or 3 years ago. It's just the issue that they was faced with. So now they're coming through that storm, and they're doing good things.
Final question, Coach. Coach Broadway always has been saying this year that he has some very good skill players, and none is better than Tariq Cohen. You took on Herb Walker last week. He's a pretty good back. Now your defense faces maybe the best back in FCS football. So what kind of challenge does this pose for you?
A big challenge. We just got to do a better job as far as tackling, and that's going to be the emphasis. As far as just tackling, we're in position to make plays. When it comes to this game of football, this is a very high. It's a contact sport. It's a collision sport, and you can't avoid contact. So we have to tackle better. In this game, you have to tackle. If you can't tackle in this game, you won't be successful. So we're in position to make plays, which tells me, scheme-wise and everything we're doing, it's okay. But now we just have to give our guys to tackle better. And this guy is very elusive. I don't know what's the difference between the two, but they're both 2 good backs, and they both can do the same thing. So we just have to focus on what we do, and I think we'll be fine. We did a good job against Rutgers as far as stopping the run. We really committed to it, but we just got to make sure that we get our guys back in that mindset that it's important that we tackle better.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
There are no further questions from the phone lines at this time.
Thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Harrell. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Thank you, Patricia. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Howard will host North Carolina A&T on Saturday, September 27th. That game kicks off at 1 p.m. and will be played at the William H. Green Stadium in Washington, D.C. Due to scheduling conflicts, Coach Adrian will be joining today's call at 11:43. or following our last interview with Jerry Mack of North Carolina Central. We hope that any media outlets interested in speaking with Coach Adrian, please join us back at that later time. Our next interview with Hampton head coach Connell Maynor will begin promptly at 11:03.
Welcome back to the MEAC Weekly Football Coaches Call. I'd now like to turn the call back to Patricia Porter. Please proceed.
Thank you, and welcome back. Again, my name is Patricia Porter, Assistant Commissioner for Media Relations for the MEAC, and I am the moderator for today's call. Our next interview is with Hampton University head coach Connell Maynor. Good morning, Coach Maynor.
Good morning, Patricia. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Coach. How about yourself?
I'm doing a little bit better after W.
Not a problem. I've been waiting to hear how you sounded this week. Well, Coach, as you mentioned, you picked up that first win of the season for the Pirates last week. Can you talk a little bit about that matchup against Miles College?
Well, it was a matchup. We expected to win the football game, and we did, but it was a lot closer than we really wanted it to be. You got to take your hats off to Miles College. They got a good football team. They came here and fought us hard. They got up on us. Our team didn't quit, guys kept fighting. Then we got a lead late, and then they came back, made a comeback, scored a late touchdown to make it a little closer than what it was. But, they fought hard for 60 minutes, and so did my guys. And we would like to have won by more, but we didn't. We got the W, and that's all that matters.
Well, Coach, throughout the the non-conference schedule, the Pirates have shown themselves to be a pretty formidable threat through the air with a pretty explosive passing game. How important will it be to have a run game complement your passing efforts as you're heading into conference play?
Yeah, we need to get a little bit more balanced with run pass. We've proven we can throw the ball. We got to do a little bit better job in the running game that we've been doing the first 4 games. I think we ran a little bit better last week against Miles, but, again, that's Miles. That's a D2 program. You're supposed to do that. So we got to be a little bit more balanced against these FCS teams and in this conference play to keep the defense off balance.
Well, speaking of conference play, this week you will face South Carolina State in the first conference matchup of the season. What are your thoughts? Heading into this matchup?
Well, we know Buddy Pugh bringing his guys in here. And their first conference game, and they want to get off to a good start, and so do we. So we expect it to be a battle for 60 minutes. We're going to play hard. We know they're coming to play. They open up with a tough schedule just like we did, and so neither team has great records, and we're anxious for conference play just like they are and trying to get off to a good start of 1-0 in the conference.
Well, thanks, Coach Maynor. That concludes all of my questions this morning, but if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please press 1-4 to register questions by telephone. Again, 1-4 to register questions. And our question is from the line of Thomas Grant from the New Times and Democrat. Please proceed.
Yes, Coach Maynor, like you said, yourself and South Carolina State have played two challenging non-conference schedules. Looking at South Carolina State, based on what you've seen on their non-conference schedule, were you able to get a feel for this? Are you able to get a feel for what this team is actually going to be going into the conference play?
Well, I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be a good, solid team, offensively and defensively. Especially on the defensive side of the ball, they look real good. Coastal put up a couple points on them, but I thought they played Clemson pretty good there in the first quarter. And then they just talent and it was so hot up there, just warmed down a little bit. But from what I see on film, they still got a very good football team, and they're going to be challenging for the MEAC.
Coach, your first 4 games, what have you been trying to establish, and how close are you in terms of being able to put your system in place?
Well, my system is in place. I just got to get these guys to they've bought in, and it's week 5. It's week 5 now, and they got 4 games under their belt in this system on the offense and defensive side. And so now we just got to cut down the mistakes we've been making, get more consistent, don't turn the ball over, shore up some tackles on defense, and do a better job of stopping the run game on the defensive side of the ball also. So, the systems are in. We got a young team, and we probably not where we want to be right now. We're going to take a couple more recruiting classes, but I like the guys that I got, and I think they can compete, and I think that we can be competitive.
Defensively, are you pleased where you're at, or is there a concern going into a contest where you're facing a team that's able to run the ball like South Carolina State?
Well, it's always concerns. We've been giving up some yards. We played some good football teams, and so we have been giving up some yards and some points. Hopefully, now that we're in conference, that's going to come down. But you're always going to be concerned until you get in the game and see how it's actually going to go. So, and we gave up 472 yards to Miles College. So there are some concerns there. We got to do a better job on defense up front and in the secondary also.
You talked about having a balanced attack, but you're facing a state team that struggles defending the pass. Is there a temptation to maybe stick offensively with what you're doing?
Well, we're going to try to stay balanced, but we're going to play to our strengths, defensive weaknesses. If we're not able to run the ball and have to throw the ball, or if we've been successful in the past, we'll throw it a little bit more than we run it, and just run a couple of running plays to keep them honest. But I always told people it's not rocket science. We're going to play to our strengths and the defensive weaknesses. So that's what we're going to do each and every week.
And finally, Coach, State's going with Darius Wiley for the second straight week. Does that sort of change how you've been planning for this game?
No. Right now, we really have to really focus in on ourselves and what we're doing, and shore up things on our side, and the better we can do that, the better off we'll be, no matter who our opponents are. If we can be in the right places and do the little things, shore up our end, it's gonna make it easier for everybody.
All right, thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, press 1-4 to register questions. Our next question is from the line of David Perkins from Sheridan Broadcasting. Please proceed.
Coach, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well. I wanted to ask you about your sophomore quarterback, Brian Bailey, who had a great game against Miles College with 3 touchdown passes. Can you talk about his development as a quarterback?
Yeah, he's coming along well. We had him in the spring, and he had a decent spring, and he competed with Jay for the starting job, and Jay beat him out. But Brian, he played well. He threw 3 touchdown passes. He threw a couple picks and pitched one ball on the ground. But you're gonna make some mistakes in a football game. That was his first one playing this year. His development has come a long ways. And I said it from the get-go. I thought I had 2 quarterbacks that I could play and we can win with both of them, but I can only start one of them. And so we rested Jay last week because he had concussion symptoms, and he could have played, but I chose not to play him and played Brian, and he got it done. He got the W for us, and so I was very pleased with his performance.
Will Bailey be the starter the rest of the way?
No, he won't. Jay will start this week. But as you can see, I always say if you got one quarterback, you got none. So we got 2 capable guys that we can run out there and play and get the job done. But we're not going to play one quarter and one another quarter. We're not going to do that. We're going to play one quarterback. I don't believe in that 2 quarterback system. I believe in having one and something happen to the other one, then the other one will come in and be ready to play.
Okay, Coach. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There are no further questions from the phone lines at this time.
Well, thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach. Best of luck to you, and have a great week.
All right, you too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hampton will host South Carolina State on Saturday, September 27th. That game kicks off at 2 p.m. and will be played at Armstrong Stadium in Hampton, Virginia. Next up, we have Savannah State head coach Ernest Wilson. Good morning, Coach Wilson.
Good morning, Patricia.
How are you this morning, Coach?
I'm doing fine.
Well, Coach, last week you guys were open. Hopefully you got some much-needed rest. Can you talk a little bit about how the team spent the bye week?
We just spent it, pretty much just working on our fundamentals, getting our schemes right. I still, with us being on an APR situation, I still don't think we've even gotten close to where we need to be in order to compete like I want to compete. But I feel like last week we took a big stride, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we do this week.
Speaking of this week you will be facing the conference matchup as you will take on Delaware State. What's the outlook for the pending matchup?
Hopefully the outlook is going to be good for us. We get Leon Pronti, one of our quarterbacks back that haven't played in 3 or 4 games, but he's eligible to play now. So we're excited about that. The quarterback, Tino Smith, who got injured, after leading us to a lead. He's going to still be there. So, it's going to be exciting because I think a lot of players are coming back and we're physically and we're mentally ready to go.
Well, thanks, Coach Wilson. That concludes my questions this morning, but if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Please press 1-4 to register questions by telephone. Again, 1-4 to register questions. And our first is from Ronald Shields from Tigers Roar. Please proceed.
How you doing, Coach?
All right. How you doing, Arnold?
I'm good. Can you expound a little bit on the APR situation, please?
APR is simple. It says that we only, it didn't come from me. It came from the previous head coach. And, unfortunately, Savannah State and what you find in a lot of HBCUs did not keep good records. And they kind of lost their graduation, where the kids graduated, where the kids their retention rates and everything else, and so it really hurt us. And it really hurt us. And NCAA came down about 2004 with this ruling, talking to you about your retention rates, talking to you about we want the kids retained, we want the kids graduated. So unfortunately, as through all the different coaches Savannah State has had, we were not able to, keep records because coaches were leaving and coming and going. So now that we're stable, as you can see, our team GPA has rose, everything's rose, but we still haven't facing the penalties. So one of them is that you only can go 16 hours, which 3 of those hours are game hours. And then the rest of the time you have to meet. You have time to meet, lift weights, and practice. So we got 13 hours to do it. So, it kind of slows your pace, especially when you don't have a team, that's full of seniors or juniors. You have mainly freshmen and sophomores. So it's kind of hurt, but we got really good talent, and I really think we're going to be really good in the future.
Okay. You said you spent your bye week working on the fundamentals. What are some of the other key issues you addressed during your week off to become a better football team?
Well, you're always working on leadership, but my job is to teach young men to be leaders, make this an extension of one's education. You got to show a young man, especially African American, that number one, you're a leader. You're here to be a manager. And I think that's what our football programs across the board are doing. At the same time, and I'm trying to teach them to be leaders. I'm teaching them to be decision makers. It's just not, I call it dumb football anymore. You got to be able to read a defense, or the defense got to be able to see a formation and know what plays they run. So, we have to do a lot of work that way because they wasn't really taught that much in high school. A lot of them did things on their own athletic ability, and so we did a lot of things with schemes and getting them to understand why they were important to the play. Okay.
You say you got some guys back from injury. You also said you got Leon Prunty back from suspension. What was he suspended for, and who will be your starting quarterback this week?
Well, we're not going to really talk about the suspension, what he was suspended for. But, academically, you got to do well in the classroom. And on my campus here, you got to be a great citizen. And that's what I'm demanding of our student athletes, because I've been around programs that have had great athletes but haven't won. And then I've been around programs that haven't had great athletes, but they worked together as a team and understood each other's role, and they were successful. And that's what I'm trying to get done here at Savannah State.
Okay, I guess the better question was he suspended by the team, or was he suspended by the conference, by the NCAA?
Well, part of it was NCAA, and
okay.
Part of it was.
And also, okay. Well, so will he be starting for you this week, or is he going to be trying to get back in the game shape, or who's going to be your quarterback this week?
Right now, my starting quarterback is Tino Smith.
Okay.
There's no doubt about it. He's done well. He's completed over 60% of his passes since he's been the starter. And I feel like, we'll probably get Leon some playing time, but I think Leon is still a little bit off.
All right. Okay. What are some of the things you expect to see out of Delaware State? They're coming off their fourth loss of the season, and I think it was against Temple in a off-balance match.
Well, don't let that fool you. They play some really great competition. They have a great defensive. They have a great defensive end, number 95, and he's been outstanding. They got two good inside linebackers. They have put up some points previous weeks, and they played a really tough schedule. And so they played the Delawares, who's been in the playoffs. They play, I think, Monmouth's been in the playoffs, and then you're stepping up playing FBS schools. So I watched them on film, and they run around pretty good. So. It's going to be a tough battle.
All right. Last question. What are some of the keys to victory, some things that you guys are going to have to do to ensure that you get the first win of the season?
Number one is we can't turn the ball over, and that's our biggest thing. We've turned the ball over. We threw about 4 interceptions last week. 2 is mental mistakes. There's too many. When you have a young team, you tend to have a lot of mental mistakes, and there's some mental mistakes that's being made. And 3, we got to just show great effort. When we do those 3 things, we should be okay.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
There are no further questions from the phone lines.
Thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Wilson. Best of luck to you and the team.
All right. Thank you.
Savannah State will travel to Dover, Delaware to take on Delaware State. That game kicks off at 6 p.m. and will be played at Alumni Stadium on Saturday, September 27th. That concludes our interview with Savannah State head coach Ernest Wilson. Our next interview with South Carolina State head coach Buddy Pugh will begin promptly at 11:23.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the MEAC Weekly Football Coaches Call. And I'd now like to turn the call back to Patricia Porter.
Thank you, and welcome back again. My name is Patricia Porter, Assistant Commissioner for Media Relations for the MEAC, and I am serving as the moderator of today's call. Next up, we have South Carolina State head coach Buddy Pugh. Good morning, Coach Pugh.
Hey, Patricia. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well, Coach, but probably nowhere near as good as you're doing this morning. How about yourself?
I'm doing better. I guarantee you I'm doing better. I was on the skids there for a while, and sometimes, our eyes are bigger than our stomachs with these schedules, and, the next thing you know, you got people beating you up pretty good, but at the same time, we are excited about the fact that we finally won a game Saturday.
Sounds great, Coach. We'll head right into it. As you mentioned, it was a very nice victory last week for the Bulldogs. Can you give us your insight on the win against Furman?
Yeah, we did beat Furman here this past Saturday, and it was a pretty balanced game for us. We rushed the football pretty good against Furman, and our defense played, I thought, extremely well, and we kicked the ball pretty good. Left a lot of points on the field, though, and, the one disappointing part of the game probably is the fact that we didn't get it in at times once we got it down close to that goal line, and we kicked a field goal or two, but we actually came up empty a time or two, and, that's what we've got to kind of work on now because we seem to have some issues with this goal line style offense, but it was fun to see our kids have a success in that setting, against that kind of team, and all the kinds of stuff that, that we hear when we start talking about playing these guys, comes to light that way. So we're excited about having won the game and looking forward to getting into the conference schedule now.
Well, still speaking a little bit about last week's matchup, emotionally, getting the non-conference victory over a ranked opponent is sweet all by itself. However, Furman ended the Bulldogs' quest in the playoffs last year after a very competitive performance. Did last year's matchup and subsequently the loss give it any added motivation to getting that win?
Well, I think the game itself was motivation enough. The loss, though, in the playoffs last year, I'm sure, was somewhat fresh on the mind of all our guys. But a lot of our guys on this team, were not on that team. Guys who made a impact on the game did not necessarily have much of a history that way because they were not here last year, or they were either, redshirted, that kind of stuff. So the majority of this team is new unto itself, and we are still real young. Our entire defense is pretty green, and we're playing a lot of young kids on offense. So, we needed to get some revenge, but, these guys don't know much about that. We were mostly just trying to win a game.
Well, let's switch gears. This week you faced Hampton in your first conference battle of the season. Talk about this upcoming game.
Well, we go to Hampton this Saturday and play at 2 o'clock. We're happy about that. We could get back home before the wee hours. And, Hampton's pretty good. Kind of similar to us in a way because, their schedule is like, woo, they play some tough guys. ODU and Richmond and William and Mary, nothing to sneeze at. And I thought Miles would be kind of a softy, but, after looking at the tape on them and Miles is real good too. So, they've had a tough time, and you can see that team developing. You can see Hampton coming along as Coach Maynor gets his system in, and the guys get a little bit better understanding of how he wants some things done. But, they are still a good football team, and, we're not going to be fooled, or we hope not to be fooled at least by their record because, nothing can be farther from the truth as far as whether they're a good team or not because it's mostly about the fact that they were, playing some really good teams. So we look forward to going up there and playing this Saturday.
Well, thanks, Coach Pugh. That concludes all of my questions this morning, but if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, please press 1-4 to register questions. And our first question is from the line of Luke Williams from Black College Sports Page. Please proceed.
Coach Pugh, what do you think about Wiley's play at quarterback, and will you start him or do you plan to start him this week?
Well, we're excited about Wiley. If you saw us play the previous game, you know that to have this guy play the way he played this past Saturday, was almost like a godsend to us. And, we're now thinking that we can, be a good bit better football team with him playing the way he does. If we can continue to get him to develop and get a little bit better understanding, of some of the things that he can do and kind of tailor the offense to his abilities, then I think we got a chance to improve pretty drastically.
Is it safe to say that he's a better with his feet than Collick?
Well, right now he is, and that's not to say Collick is not a good player for us, and we think he'll continue to be in the mix somewhat. It's just that Adrian is still banged up a little bit, and we don't want to necessarily take a chance on putting him out there before he gets back to 100%. So we're going to go with Wiley for now, and hopefully we can do things that'll play a little bit more to his strengths.
But was it a kind of a revelation for you to see him start and go the distance, perform the way? Was it kind of a revelation in terms of some things maybe you understood on defense that he was doing maybe better than what you've seen prior to now?
Yeah, it was. He played better than we had anticipated in playing. But he practiced good last week, and from the very beginning he took to the notion in a way that you could tell that he was going to play better. So I was excited by watching him work during the week and was really looking forward to the game Saturday because I thought he might play that way. And when he did go out and do what I thought he'd do from what we saw in practice, that was really special.
Buddy, are you a guy who really prefers a guy who can beat you both ways as opposed to kind of the drop back guy?
I'm a guy who prefers a guy that you can win with.
I saw that one coming.
It's not like, we got a choice in the matter. You take what you got most times in college football. The fact that this guy seems to have taken to our offense in a way that we got a chance to be successful, is what we are going with at this point.
I'm not sure this is a fair question, but was Furman ranked on its stuff from last year? Do they have a lot of new guys, or you think that your team just played its best game?
Yeah, I think they were ranked a lot. I mean, everybody is early in the year, ranked on, their previous year to a certain degree. Furman lost the previous week, so they were falling some in the polls, and they lost their quarterback in the first game of the season. The Reese Hammond kid that played for them at quarterback was really good, and the fact that he was out, I think, probably had as much to do with their troubles as anything. So we beat them, and I'm happy that we beat them, but we didn't quite beat them at full strength.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
All right, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, press 1-4 to register questions. Our next question is from the line of David Perkins from Sheridan Broadcasting. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach.
Hey, David. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Wanted to follow up, talk about Jalen Simmons, the 127 yards against Furman.
Uh-huh.
How do you see him and your offense going up against the Hampton defense?
Well, they got their work cut out for them. Hampton's extremely physical up front. And, they're in that old Joe Lee Dunn 3-3-5 deal where, they got guys come from everywhere. You're always trying to figure out where'd that guy come from. So, it'll be tough to run the football against them. And, Scoot and the offensive line will really have to be on their P's and Q's to have a shot at getting to building some consistent running attack.
Okay, Coach, thanks. That's all I had. Thank you.
All right. Y'all want something to drink? I got some water in there now. Will that be?
Our next question is from the line of Ty Miller from SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned Joe Lee Dunn's 3-3-5 defense. What is that for your team? How do you attack that 3-3-5? What's the best way?
Well, now, Ty, you think I'm going to say that today?
I was trying to get you to say something about that.
Well, what we like to do is we like to be able to run at it and throw at it, and exactly how you do that, I don't know for sure. And it's still early in the week, so we're still formulating our plan to a certain degree and, trying to figure out if there are some things that you can do against them. But right at this point, we need to try to mix it up, see if we can keep them off balance. That's what everybody tries to do against everybody, though. You don't necessarily want to let them know exactly what you're going to do.
I know, Coach. Well, let's talk about the fact that Connell Maynor's won a couple of Black College National Championships during his time at Winston-Salem State, was a successful quarterback during his days in college, and is sort of, some people consider him an offensive genius. So with that in mind, what are your thoughts on Connell Maynor coach teams?
Well, this is our first chance to play one of Coach Maynor's teams, but everybody that you talk to that that knows the guy talks about what a good guy he is and what a good football coach he is, and you can see on film that these guys are doing some things really right, and you'll be pretty much pressed to to do anything to them over and over again. Anything that you do to them, they'll adjust and take it away from you, that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see, exactly how we match up against his teams, because this is a new thing for us. And we just look forward to the relationship. Hopefully, he's a young guy, so he can probably coach for a long time now, but these guys probably want to put me out the pasture here pretty fast. So I just hope that I can, put a 4 or 5 year streak of playing him together.
Well, Coach, some people say it's tough for a puppy to fool an old dog, so could that be the case here?
Well, I am an old dog, and if you let these guys talk about down here, they're getting old all the time.
Final question, Coach. Your 2-2 record, non-conference schedule. How has this prepared you best for the MEAC schedule?
Well, we've had our ups and downs for sure, but I think we are prepared. I was really hoping that we could get through our non-conference schedule, at least 2-2. Both Clemson and Coastal beat us up pretty badly, though, and put us in a bad frame of mind in a bad way. So, coming off that Coastal game, I was really worried, Ty, to be perfectly honest with you, because we didn't play very well and were ugly at times. So, for us to come back and play the way we did against Furman this past Saturday was really, a revelation of sorts. So, we're kind of happy to be 2-2, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, it could have been 1-3 real easy.
All right, Coach. Thanks. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
There are no further questions from the phone lines at this time.
Well, thanks again for joining us this morning. Coach Pugh, best of luck to you and the team, and safe travels this week.
Okay, Patricia. Have a good day.
You too. South Carolina State will travel to Hampton, Virginia to take on Hampton University. That game kicks off Saturday, September 27th at 2 p.m. and will be played at Armstrong Stadium. Next up, we have North Carolina A&T head coach Rod Broadway. Good morning, Coach Broadway.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Coach. And yourself?
I'm good, thanks.
Coach, last week, a pretty lopsided victory for the Aggies. Can you talk a little bit about that matchup against Shawan?
Yeah, it was mismatch, actually. We had a few more guns than they had, which, I'm all too familiar with because we've been in so many mismatch games, having 29 scholarships. I know how the guy felt, but, I have to give our players credit. They went out and played like they should play in the first half and not play down. And I was pleased with our effort in the first half and execution. And second half, we played everybody on the football team. And, of course, it was a good one. It was a good way to get a win.
Well, with having some success in the early season, now heading into conference play, how prepared do you feel this team is for the title race?
I don't know about the race. We don't look at things that way. We're just trying to get ready to play this weekend, and that's as far as we look. We got to go up to Howard this weekend, and we don't look too far ahead. We just try to get better every week, and hopefully we can continue to get better. We've taken some positive steps, but still has a long way to go, I think, before we're able to win a championship or even mention a championship around here. And again, our thoughts is on Howard and only Howard.
Well, as you're saying, narrowing our focus, this week you will take on Howard. What is your outlook for the matchup?
Well, it's going to be a dogfight. I think these two teams match up pretty good against each other, and they do some really nice things. And they play some really tough opponents, and I think they're a lot better than their record right now. I know they play better than their record, so we just need to get ready to play and get ready for dogfight, and hopefully we can play better than we played here in the past.
Well, thanks, Coach Broadway. That concludes all of my questions this morning. But if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, please press 1-4 to register questions at this time. Again, press 1-4 to register questions. And we have a question from the line of Ty Miller, SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Coach Broadway, good morning to you.
Hey, Ty, how are you?
I'm good, Coach. Greg McGee, that's the guy who makes it go for Howard. Give us your assessment of him. He's been beat up pretty badly, so how do you plan to continue that?
I tell you what, he can play. I mean, he's the difference in that football team from where I'm sitting. And you try to gang up on one area or not, but he can beat you throwing it. He can beat you with his feet. So it's tough playing guys like this. And if you got a quarterback like that, you always got a chance. And he's good. I mean, he's a really good player. And we just got to try to keep him in the pocket and make him throw it and don't let him out. And and that scares me too because they have some receivers that can play. And so we got our hands full, and we got to do a great job. And I wish this guy going to finish school seemed like he's been there 100 years, but I think this is it for him unless they can get a 6th year. So, but he's really good, Ty.
Coach Harrell talked about the fact that he knows your team is much better than it was the past 3 years because of the practice time you've had to be able to put in spring practice now. This weekend, they have a lot of momentum based on the fact that it's Hall of Fame weekend down at Howard. I'm sure you don't get caught up in that because it's not, A&T or any of your team involved. But knowing that you're going to be facing that kind of momentum with the team jacked up like that, is there anything differently that you would say to your team prior to that contest?
As long as those Hall of Famers don't play, I take our chances. Just keep the Hall of Famers on the sideline. We'll go play them. But no, it'll be an emotional game. Last time we went up there was an emotional game. And, I think those guys have done a great job up there, scheme-wise and how they try to attack you and what they get out of their players. My hat's off to them because they're a well-coached football team. So we have enough to say grace over being concerned with that. And, that outside stuff hopefully won't bother us too much.
Coach, everybody talks about Tariq Cohen, the yardage he put up a couple of weeks ago, and we know he's a marked man when he takes to the field. But what about some of the unsung heroes, the offensive linemen? Can you name some of those guys and how good they are and what they do to make that running game go?
Well, yeah, Will Robinson, he's been with us for 4 years now as an offensive lineman, and, we moved him from tackle to guard and was preseason all MEAC and is doing a good job for us. And our center, R.J. Canty, is playing fairly good. The other 3 guys are freshmen that we're playing in offensive line. So all those guys are new, and, they've gotten better, but need to continue to get better because we feel like if we can get a hat on a hat, you don't have to knock them off the ball too bad, but if we can get a hat on the hat, Tyreek can take the distance anytime he touches the ball. So we got to continue to develop as an offensive line, and we got to get to the second level a lot better than we're getting right now to give this guy a chance. And then on top of that, our receivers got to get downfield and get some blocks because he's going to be on them quick.
Coach, speaking of quick, Quayshawn Quick is slightly built, but, pretty effective at your quarterback position. So can you talk about his elusiveness and his quickness and why he's so key for your attack?
He is. He's all of that, and he's fast. And he's gotten better. He's starting to throw the ball better, which we hope because we got some guys outside that can fly. And, we're not going to let people just stack the box on us because we're going to throw that thing to Dez Leonard and some of our other speed guys out there. And, hit or miss, they're going to have to respect that or we're going to burn some people eventually. And to see him improve as a quarterback in his throwing motion and his accuracy is a big plus for us. And hopefully, with him throwing the ball better, it's going to create some more opportunities for us.
Finally, Coach, the game against Shawan last week allowed you to go deep into your roster and play a bunch of players. So did you discover any new talent that, may not have hit the field in the previous 3 games that could be key down the stretch?
Well, not really, Ty. We, they play about like they're capable of playing for the most part, but we played everybody. And, Quick didn't play the second half. Tyreek didn't play the second half. A lot of our guys didn't even play the second half, so we played down-the-line guys. And I had hoped that they would play a little bit better than they did. But, our quarterback missed a couple of throws and missed a couple of reads. And, when that happens, it gets you off kilter a little bit. So nobody jumped out and played outstanding. They played about like they've been practicing here in the last week or so. But it was good to give them an opportunity to get out and play. Thanks, Tom.
There are no further questions from the phone lines.
Thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Broadway. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Thank you, Miss Porter. You have a good one.
Have a great one. You too. North Carolina A&T will travel to Washington, D.C. to take on Howard. That game kicks off Saturday, September 27th at 1 p.m. and will be played at the William H. Green Stadium. Next up, we have North Carolina Central head coach Jerry. Good morning, Coach Mack.
Good morning, Patricia.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing all right.
Coach, last week, a competitive battle for the Eagles. Can you share your thoughts regarding the matchup against Townsend?
I thought last week, finally our team, they came to play for 4 quarters. I thought we gave ourselves at the end of the game a chance to win it. Because of a few mental mistakes, we kind of came up a little bit short. But I was proud of the guys on how they went out there and they competed, and gave ourselves a chance to win in the latter part of the game.
Well, Coach, similar to last year's Eagles team, the special teams has been tried and true to start this season. How important is the play of the special teams to this team's overall success?
Very important. We retained Coach Mike Mendenhall, who was our special team coordinator from last year. And so far, they've been playing good football. Our punt return unit has been doing well, and also our punt team. We got a new freshman punter. He's punting the ball extremely well this year.
Well, this week is your first bye week coming up. What's the focus heading into the open week?
Anytime you get a chance to get some time off, as far as no game, you always want to try to recoup some guys as far as some injuries. We got a few bumps and bruises. Give those guys another extra few days to heal. Obviously, our red zone offense and defense on both sides of the ball have to improve. So that'll be an emphasis. And fundamental, get back to the basics. We can't never, evade that. We always got to go back to work, sort of like spring football, get a few more minutes in fundamental period doing practice.
Thanks, Coach Mack. That concludes all of my questions this morning. But if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, press 1-4 to register any questions. Again, press 1-4 to register questions. And our first question is from the line of John McCann from Health. Please proceed.
Hey, good morning, Coach.
Morning, John.
Coach, would you say that I noticed that a lot of your secondary guys, featured more on those guys, are in on a lot of tackles. Is that necessarily a bad thing or just par for the course when you got that nickel secondary?
Just kind of part of what our defensive structure is, and kind of the way the teams that are playing, the teams that we played the last couple of weeks, the way they run the football. Those safeties and those secondary guys, they got to be part of the run support and run fits in the box. So they're able to come down and put up run support and make tackles in space.
But I know last week on the conference call, you said that your defensive backs will come up with a pick to get their first turnover, to get Townsend to turn it over for the first time this season. Not only did you get that pick, but you also got a couple fumbles and recovered one of them. Did you know going into the game? Did you see something on tape that lets you know that they might be pretty vulnerable for you guys for the picking?
Well, you always teach our guys we're trying to go after the football and we're trying to take advantage of anything that we can. But I think also, too, I feel really good about our defense creating turnovers. That's one thing they pride themselves on, and they do a good job of creating turnovers. So it was as much about us as it was about seeing Townsend, seeing some things on film as well. Just a lot of confidence in our defense as well.
On the quarterback situation, the philosophy has been a two-quarterback system. Bilderman didn't get any snaps this past game simply because, Malcolm, was he necessarily hot or just got more faith in Malcolm right about now?
Well, we just felt like Malcolm was playing real good football. He was doing some good things out there. He had a couple of mental mistakes and some mental errors. But, at the end of the day, he threw the ball pretty well. He gave us a chance on some situations to get some third downs and create some plays with his legs. And that was the thing that we thought he brought to the table and did a good job of on Saturday.
Is that going to be a week-to-week thing in terms of the quarterback situation?
I think it is. I think right now Malcolm's playing really good, and we're going to continue to go with Malcolm until we feel some different things. But we still got all the faith in Quinn. If things If some things may be different in the course of the game, we can always put Quinn in. But right now, we're going to go with Malcolm for a little while.
Do you like what you're getting out of your running backs? I know you guys spread and like a throwing around. So, 82 yards, is that good production for what y'all want to do?
No, not by no means. Our running back core, we just have to step it up a little bit. We have to simplify some things in our run game a little bit more and be more committed to doing certain things as far as running the football. We need, we're throwing the ball to some of those guys, out the backfield a lot, but we need more productivity from that position, and we'll get it. Offensive line, we'll get that productivity we need.
Okay. And lastly, Coach, I know you spoke over the summer about how, I think your wife had to get on you about taking a vacation. Coach, you can take a couple of days off during this week on an open week, can't you, Coach?
No, it gives no time to rest. We're about to get into MEAC play after this week, and that's when everything's up for grabs then. That's when real football begins now.
Let me slide one more in, Coach. You got Greg McGee coming up next week, Coach. Do you need this much time to prepare for a guy like that?
Ain't no doubt about it. I mean, he's the preseason all-conference player. I've been watching Greg for probably the last 2 or 3 years now, just from afar, and he's an amazing player. And, you gotta try to figure out. You're gonna need 2 weeks to figure out a game plan on how to control him.
Coach, thanks.
Thanks, John.
Our next question is from Ty Miller, SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach Mack. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Hey, during MEAC Media Day, you had a lot of support in the House for your Eagle program, and, they were really hyped up about the MEAC and the prospects of you really being competitive this year within the conference. You just mentioned to John that the preseason of sorts is sort of over, and now you get into the conference schedule. So my only question is, what have you seen thus far about your team that is going to make you really competitive with the rest of the teams in the MEAC this year?
I think we got a team, we're a young football team, but we got a team that is continue to fight. Even against UNC Charlotte, we continue to fight through, and we were able to put up some points at the end and give ourselves a chance to try to make a comeback against Townsend. Our team, they fought hard for 4 quarters. We just came up a little short. So I think one thing that you see in this team that's going to give us a chance to be competitive is a don't quit attitude.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
There are no further questions from the phone lines.
Thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Mack. Get some rest, but definitely take advantage of the bye week. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Patricia.
North Carolina Central will host Howard on Saturday, October 4th at 2 p.m. That will be their next matchup. That game will take place at the O'Kelly Riddick Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. Next up, we have Norfolk State head coach Pete Adrian. Good morning, Coach Adrian. Good morning, Coach Adrian. Can you hear me?
This is the operator speaking. He just disconnected.
Okay. If everyone can please be patient as we get Coach Adrian back on the line. Thank you. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, Coach. How are you this morning?
Okay, I picked the phone up and we got cut off. Sorry about that. I'm fine.
No problem. It happens to the best of us. Well, Coach, last week you faced the University of Buffalo. Can you talk about your team's performance in the matchup?
Well, first of all, they're certainly a solid football team. They're predicted to be a bowl team, and they probably will be out of the MAC conference. They were very big, very physical, and they played a real solid football game. We played as hard as we could play, and still came up short. But our kids played for 60 minutes, and I was pleased about that. So it was really a good experience, I guess. But now we get a chance to go into conference play, and we're excited about that.
Well, Coach, defensively, this team stacks up there with the best of them. How much are you depending on your defense to help secure wins or pick up wins as you're heading into the conference schedule?
Well, you obviously like to have a good defense, but it takes a whole team to win, and that's what we got to do. We got to make sure that we're getting a good effort from the offense and special teams and the defense. And there's no question we have some decent players on defense. There's no question about that. But they can't win the game by themselves, and I don't think they're going to have to. I think our guys are going to play well. We've been improving, and we'll see what happens. So we've got a real good team here right off the bat, and Morgan State University, they're very, very good on offense and running the ball extremely well, and their defense is getting better, so it's going to be an interesting battle.
Well, thanks, Coach. That concludes all of my questions this morning. But if I could ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
No problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, please press 1-4 to register questions. Again, 1-4 to register questions by telephone. And again, please press 1-4 to register questions. And we have a question from the line of Edward Lee from the Baltimore Sun. Please proceed.
Morning, Coach. I was curious,
good morning.
This matchup pits Morgan State against their former head coach and Donald Hill-Ely, who I believe is your offensive coordinator. Do you get a sense from Coach Hill-Ely that this is a meaningful game for him?
Well, I think every game's meaningful, and I mean, obviously, anybody who's at a certain place for 12 years and recruited probably most of those players and all that stuff is obviously torn both ways. But, you got to go out and coach like we do as a professional and try to get the job done.
So there's no rallying cry, win one for Donald?
No. We're just trying to win one for anybody.
Coach, if you would just talk about your red zone defense. I believe teams have only scored 5 touchdowns in 12 trips against you guys when in the red zone. What are you guys doing so successfully when you guys get down there?
Well, the bad thing is people getting down there, I guess. I think to get a smaller field down there, and we got some pretty good players, and tough to run on a little bit, so they got to try to throw the football. That's what Buffalo did to us. They ended up throwing, I think, 3 fades at us for scores down there, but we were able to stop them a couple of times.
Coach, can you just talk about the offense has struggled at times? How do you try to revive that unit? And is there anything special that you have to do to try to get them to execute better?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing is with their getting experience. We really have one starting senior in that lineup, and he's playing in the offensive line for us, and Justin Myler. And then we have another starting senior at wide receiver, but he's in the rotation. So really young with a freshman quarterback and a lot of first-year players and whatnot. But they're improving as we go. We just hope that we can continue to improve.
Mm-hmm. And then, Coach, Morgan State, one of the things that they've been doing recently is they've been getting a lot of penalties. They had 10 penalties for 104 yards in that win against Howard. When you face a team like that, do you tell your guys just to be patient and then maybe the opponent will get frustrated and they'll commit those kind of penalties again?
No, I mean we don't worry about that. I mean they're running the ball extremely well, and I think Harrell was probably lucky. There's a couple of big runs that were called back for whatever reason, and we just got to play and try to play as solid as we can and make sure that we're sound in what we do.
My last question is, what's your impression of Herb Walker Jr., the running back who replaced Lamont Brown III?
Well, I mean, the old saying, he can make you miss in a phone booth. He's got great feet, he really cuts well, and he runs extremely hard. So, between him and the quarterback running the football, that's really a good 1-2 tandem without question.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay.
Our next question is from the line of Ty Miller from SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Coach, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning.
Coach, have you had another receiver besides Isaac White step up, and if so, who would that guy be?
Well, it hasn't been yet. I mean, one of our receivers, James Church, who was a starter for us, has been hurt all year. He's just starting to come back now, and he'll play some this weekend. And then Keith Keith Johnson has been a player for us who needs to probably step up for some. He's been playing for 4 years.
Coach, you've lost 4 tough games, but Now you get into the MEAC conference schedule. Of the 4 games, which game has been an indication of what your team has really like so far this year?
Well, I'd like to think William and Mary, where we really played pretty good on both sides of the football. And, we really did a pretty good job against them. Last week against Buffalo, they were just really probably overmatched us from a physical standpoint. They were huge.
And as you get into conference play, what gives you the best indication that you are going to be on par with the other teams in the conference and in line for a pretty good season here?
Well, I guess it all starts this week with your first conference game. Morgan's playing extremely well, and they've got a couple of wins in a row and got an experienced offense back, up front. So it'll be a big challenge for us. If we get by that, then maybe things will work out. But, I've always just taken them one at a time, and right now we're trying to totally focus just on Morgan.
And finally, Coach, about your offense, I know you have a new coordinator there, Coach Halili, and maybe some new schemes going on, but is it in part due to the competition, or is it due in part to the learning curve and young players that you have at Norfolk State?
Well, I think it's both. We started out with 3 ranked teams in the top 20 in FCS, and then you play Division I, and you're starting a freshman quarterback and a bunch of guys that are really playing for the first time.